Hey guys, welcome back to Laurence McKenna on LFC channel, where we're previewing Liverpool's trip to Man City, a big game in the run of three. A lot of people identifying these as kind of season defining, and I'm reticent to put this in the season defining category. I think if we win it, there certainly is some significance because it feels like the kind of biggest or hardest of the three games. But then Real Madrid felt like a big game. Villa felt like a big game for a different reason, and as you go on through each of the games, and naturally, kind of the way that time is, you start to change your perspective on each of these games. I think at the start of those games, City felt very intimidating. But I also feel like after the previous two games, we're now in kind of an interesting space. And I'll tell you why for two different reasons. First of all, Liverpool look like a side which now has some confidence, a bit of synergy, a bit of understanding of the system that we're going to play, at least in this period of the games. We've kind of reverted a little bit back to last season, possibly putting some of the powder back into the keg and saying, let's just slow this transition a little. I saw a stat today. No champion of the Premier League has ever started with four new signings in their starting 11 at the start of next season. Now, that might also just be because, you make those signings, bed them in. But there was a lot of change in the shape and the formation and the way we wanted players to play at the start of the season. And I think in many ways that wasn't the big issue, right? We had players with a lot of confidence. We had players who were very excited and players who wanted to show off. But we also had, this reinvigoration. There was a bit of change. We wanted to prove ourselves. But also there were some tactical issues. And I think I'm not saying we've worked those out. I don't think Villa and Real Madrid are the best judges of those things. Real Madrid run very hot cold, and so do Villa as well. We were clearly a little bit hurt by everything that was going on, and we can't run off fumes for the whole season. But I also think that, confidence is a very interesting thing. It doesn't necessarily follow logical rules, and momentum, confidence, whatever you want to call it, both those things, those are really important to high-end players for the 2% differences, or even the 5 or 10% differences. They help you make big jumps in the way that you can play oppositions. And a few weeks ago, I would have said City will completely take us apart. And you know what? Like with the confidence that City have, there is a risk going away to City. But at the same time, there is still a spine in this side of players who have become very familiar with facing City, who have had bad and good experiences against City, who have played at the Etihad, who have got the experience at the top level of putting opposition on the back foot. And after seeing the way that we played Villa, negated them. After seeing the way that we played Real Madrid, negated a lot of their positives. And going into the international break, this seems like a great time for us to really test ourselves. Now, I'm not saying therefore we need to go in there and win 3-0. I think a lot of people are waiting for that kind of big game where Liverpool really unload on an opposition. And I don't think this is it. You could see the reverence that Arteta gives to City. You could see the reverence that a lot of people give to City. And you could even see when City lose or they draw, like the Monaco game or the Villa game, that, you can't just kind of take the gloves off and be like, right, let's go for big blows here. You have to play them with a game plan. And the game plan for Villa was score early and then batten down the hatches, and it worked. But other teams have chosen to play them in more open games, and I think they've just been picked off. Haaland is a player this season who will pick you off if you play a high line. And they are more efficient, I think, than ever at feeding Haaland that ball. And I think Liverpool have had some really great days against Erling Haaland. We've seen that Virgil van Dijk and Konate have risen to the challenge very often. But we've not really played a City side that I ever felt was fully geared up in the way that they are now to feed him. I think in previous seasons, we've seen Konate and Van Dijk really lean into that physical battle and the challenge that is Haaland. But this guy looks reinvigorated. He looks like the driving force of this team. He's become one of those captains de facto. He looks very confident himself. He's growing into his own character, his own kind of avatar within the league, if you want. And he's taken his time in doing that. And I think City have kind of protected him and grown him into that area. But you can see now, this is a Pep project which is coming to fruition. And that's why it is so dangerous for us. That's why it is so worrying for us. But at the same time, Liverpool are also, we did silence Mbappe. And Mbappe is one of those guys that wants to play on the shoulder. We did silence Vinny. Now, silencing Vinny, especially from a La Liga side, is very different to silencing a Premier League player like Doku or Bernardo Silva on the other side or Phil Foden just behind them. All three of those guys are used to being physical and kicked in different ways. It's not to say we're not capable of it, but it certainly means that there is a different challenge to facing a La Liga side in a European competition than facing a Premier League side in the Premier League competition. And I think the key here is some sense of consistency throughout these three games. It's not to say for the rest of the season we're only going to play these guys, because we can't do that. And Slot's pointed this out. Some of the signings that we had from the previous season haven't ever played a 60-game season for any team if they want to be successful, right? 60 games is assuming we go far in each of the competitions, which we won't now in the Carabao Cup. But still, you're going to get a high number of games if you want to be part of a successful team, and that should always be what Liverpool is shooting for. We will need to rotate in midfield. We had to rotate in midfield. We were forced to do so a couple of weeks ago, and there were some really positive rotational benefits that we saw from bringing Curtis Jones. I think Curtis Jones is a fantastic player, from bringing Endo in at different times and all these kind of things. Like, we can go through all the different iterations, but I think I'd start a consistent midfield. I would go Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister, or Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. And I'd be interested to see if we start Wirtz in this game. I think Gakpo will be the one that gets the call. I think the main reason will be we want to allow Wirtz the opportunity to come in and influence the game, the opportunity to come out the back of the Real Madrid game and rest a little bit. But also, I don't think there's going to be much space in that midfield that Real Madrid granted us to operate. Rodri, if he plays, would be a restricting factor in that area. Let's get it wide. Let's see what Núñez has got. Let's see whether Reinders is going to be that kind of protective six. Let's see how they deal with that, and then shift our shape again against Pep. In previous years, the press worked so well from Jurgen Klopp, and there were times where they were, the City team were just completely overwhelmed. But there are also years where we've been picked off, and that is a classic Pep Guardiola, Pep Linders in particular, game plan. They are going to do something which is going to undermine our confidence, which is going to be something we need to work out, which is Pep and Pep versus Arne and whoever else. And I'm going to be interested to see how we choose to play this City team. They are still themselves gaining momentum. They are still themselves kind of working their way up towards being at full steam. And I think they will see us, the narrative is all about us, obviously from a Liverpool perspective, but they will see us in a similar way. If we can beat Liverpool, if we can, leapfrog them in the league and begin to close that gap on Arsenal. By the way, Arsenal massively benefit from a draw. So, whilst that might seem like a loss, a point on the board, I think is still better than nothing, but you get my point. Both these sides are going to want to close that gap on Arsenal, or at least keep the gap the same, because Arsenal probably will have won going into this game. And it is the big showpiece. But I think City are going to be looking to undermine us as well. City are going to be looking to take away from a lot of the confidence momentum that we have built and deflate that balloon that we have been, kind of slowly inflating over the last couple of games. 2 games is no way to judge a team, but also nor is the 4 before that, and nor was the 5 before that. So don't tell me that you've got any kind of read on where this Liverpool team's confidence is. You might have a read on some of the tactical issues that we've had, but those tactical issues will not be consistent because of different starting 11s, because of different applications, because of different teams, the way we play them. Hence why the Premier League is such an interesting such an interesting league, and hence why intensity in that last game against Real Madrid might not have the same payoff. We cannot get Wirtz and Szoboszlai to run their legs off in all of these games. That Real Madrid game was an intensive game in the midfield, but we wanted to control that game. Pep Guardiola is a master of control. Now, I'll be interested to see how we gain control in the midfield. It's going to be Ekitike who starts up front, because Isak has only started like 1 training session in 3 weeks. Gakpo, I think, on the left. Mohamed Salah, same midfield 3. I think we'd be silly to rotate the back 4, but I wonder if we bring in someone like Kirkes, because, we want a bit of that push on that side. And I think on the opposite, we'll be interested to see. I think on the opposite side, you're going to see Conor Bradley, because, again, I don't think Frimpong's got that fitness right now. I don't think he'll even be back for that. And I also don't think the starting Szoboszlai right back is the move in this one. We need Conor Bradley, who's just shut down Vinny. Give him back-to-back games. Give him back-to-back moments. Give him that opportunity to prove himself and the opportunity to cement that as his role. Virgil van Dijk and flanked by, I think, Kirkes, and then Konate and Mamadashvili in goal. Alisson working his way back, but again, still not fully fit, so no point in exploring that. That is very competitive starting 11 with the opportunity to rotate things. Wirtz, we don't like. I think Wirtz is the main shapeshifter there, but we also have plenty of other options in Chiesa and those kind of people coming on the field. I'm still waiting for that moment where we are able to bring in someone like Isak, where we're able to start Isak and Ekatike and go work out our shape. But this isn't the time for that. We're still not even 12 games in on the season. We don't have the full litmus test. And we know there is vulnerability and consistency of vulnerability, whether we are playing the previous system that won the first 5 games, the middle transitional system that lost those 4, 5, however many games, or the reversion / adaptation system, which has got us some good results, but ultimately isn't the one that will play all season. And obviously with all of these massive transfer rumors around the likes of Bastoni and Semenyo and all these different guys, and Mark Gay, we know that the side is looking to adapt, and we know that actually it'd be great to have a bit more backup, but also change and tactical shift at centre-back. We're not having that right now. We've got Konate and Van Dijk. Joe Gomez is not going to be starting these games. So let me know in the comments below where you think we start, how you think we start, what you think the feeling is going into this game. 2 home games, very different to the away game. Just slot worry about that. What are your concerns? Where do you think our strengths lie? And who do you think wins the game for us? I think because City have been a bit of a shapeshifter, they've had quite a few different starting 11s. It's more difficult to judge who we're going to go up against. Haaland will be that consistent one. They've got the great centre-backs. They've got Donnarumma. Donnarumma is a force in himself. So, yeah, a very different side to be facing against Man City this year. And the same for Liverpool going into the Man City game. So it's quite a new, same beast, different animal, or the other way around. But an interesting one. And Arne Slot, obviously a massive fan of Pep Guardiola. So, again, master, he's not exactly the student, but you know what I'm saying? The studier. This is going to be good. Let me know in the comments below how you guys are feeling. Patreon down there, membership down there, and a Discord down there if you want to get in there and discuss everything. I think at some point it's just about keeping pace with Arsenal and waiting for our moment. But City will also be thinking the same. Big game though. Still huge. See you guys in a little while. I'm going to be doing plenty of stuff tactically about Semenyo, Bastoni, and all those kind of things. And I will chat to you guys in a while. Much love.